Hey everyone, happy Sunday. Hope you're doing great. We're going to be here live. FAC Kids Go live here in the arena. If you can't join us, then this video is for you, so you can keep up with what we're doing with the lives of Jesus' disciples. This is week 3 of the disciples. Before we dive into that, a couple of things I want to remind you of. First, coming up soon, next Sunday, we're starting baptism class November 1st and November 8th. That's going to be during the 11:30 service. We're going to meet up here in the activity room. We'll be socially distanced and masked. So even if you're not yet returning to church full on, you are certainly welcome to join us here. And if that doesn't work for you and you want to participate in class, please let me know. We will definitely be able to Zoom you in and make that happen. So that's happening November 1 and November 8. Baptism Sunday is November 15. And remember, every time we have baptism class, attending class does not mean you have to get baptized, but it's an excellent way to learn more about what this means and this important part of our relationship with God. And if you do want to get baptized on November 15th, we ask that you do go through the class just to make sure you know what's going on and understand what that's all about. So that's baptism class November 1st and November 8th. Hope to see you there. Also, don't forget that on October 30th, Friday, October 30th, we're doing Treat Street here at FAC. It's a really easy drive-through event. Drive through and get some candy, drive through and do a fun I Spy around the church building, and then drive up and make sure your crew dresses up in some kind of cool costumes together and take your picture. And if you hashtag that FAC Treat Street, FAC Treat Street, you could win for your family or for your crew a $200 Visa gift card. So that's going to be October 30th, 4 to 8 p.m. It's drive-through. It's socially distanced. It's all safe, but it's a lot of fun. We hope you will come and join us at Treat Street. So we've been talking about the disciples. This is week 3. We're saying every week a disciple lives for Jesus. And so the first week we talked about Matthew, and we said a disciple knows that Jesus is worth following. Last week we talked about Andrew, and the first thing he did when he met Jesus was he went and found his brother Peter. And we said that a disciple loves their family. How did God teach you through your family this past week? That was our big question last week. How's God going to teach me through my family? Hope you had a chance to think about that, to look with your eyes, to listen with your ears. How is God going to teach me? Well, today we're talking about 2 other disciples and how they learn that a disciple is someone who serves. Now, one thing that we're doing each week, Miss Kathy's been teaching us here live a song to learn the names of all the disciples. I'm going to show you a video right now that has the names of the disciples in it. So have fun listening to and learning this song that has the names of the disciples. Here we go.
There were 12 disciples Jesus called to help him: Simon, Peter, Andrew, James his brother John, Philip, Thomas, Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon, Judas, and Bartholomew. There were 12 disciples Jesus called to help him: Simon, Peter, Andrew, James his brother John, Philip, Thomas, Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon, Judas, and Bartholomew. He has called us to, he has called us to, we are his disciples, I am one and you. Hey! He has called us to, he has called us to, we are his disciples, I am one and you. There were 12 disciples Jesus called to help him: Simon, Peter, Andrew, James his brother John, Philip, Thomas, Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon, Judas, and Bartholomew. He has called us to, he has called us to, we are his disciples, I am one and you. Hey! He has called us to, he has called us to, we are his disciples, I am one and you. There were 12 disciples Jesus called to help him: Simon, Peter, Andrew, James his brother John, Philip, Thomas, Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon, Judas, and
All right, I hope you enjoyed that, and we're going to sing that each week here live, or you can watch the video again to learn it. We'll watch it again later. So we're going to talk about today, what is the greatest? And in fact, we're going to have a piece of paper like this and get into some groups and talk about what is the greatest. What's the greatest ice cream flavor? What's the greatest TV show, sports team? Who's the greatest person? What's the greatest candy? What's the best movie ever? What's the greatest music group? You could make up your own list of things to talk about in your family. What is the greatest? But we're going to talk about that here and talk about some things that people debate about. People talk about what is great. And we're going to talk a little bit later even about what makes something great. So here are some things that people think are great and maybe kind of debate about what is great. Some people debate about what's the greatest soft drink, Coke or Pepsi. I don't know. I don't really drink a lot of pop. What do you think, Coke or Pepsi? How about this one? Oh, I like this one because here we go. Some people debate whether it's the Beatles or Elvis are the greatest. Which was it, the Beatles or Elvis? I know who I think, but that's up to you. So, that's one thing that people debate about what's great or not. Here's another one. Oh, a lot of people get into debate about this. I don't know, it's kind of apples, oranges, kind of hard to debate this one, but a lot of people are like Star Wars, and a lot of people are, Harry Potter. So what do you think? Which is the greatest and why? Think about that. Talk about that in your family. How about this, Marvel? Who's the greatest Marvel superhero? I love in the Avengers movies when they all fight about who is called the greatest Avenger or the strongest Avenger. Who's the greatest superhero? Who do you think? What about this guy? You've probably not seen this guy. He was a boxer, obviously. His name was Muhammad Ali. He was a really good boxer, but in fact, he called himself the greatest. He said it all the time. I am the greatest. He said it all the time. Was he the greatest? I don't know, maybe at boxing, but depends on what you think is great. What about this lady? Have you ever seen her before? Her name's Mother Teresa. She was a Catholic nun. She gave up everything, literally, and went to India to live in a place called Calcutta, where the poorest of the poor people lived, to help them, to serve them, to love them, to hold them when their babies were sick and dying. She gave up everything to love people that no one else loved and no one else cared for. Is that the greatest? What do you think? It's a great thing to think about. Great. It's a great thing to think about what the greatest is and what greatness is. But the question I want us to talk about, that we're going to talk about here, is what makes something great? Why is something great in the first place? And we're asking this question because Jesus is going to talk about this in a little bit. So in our time together here in the arena, we're going to play a game about who's greatest, who can do the most sit-ups or push-ups, or who can hold their breath the longest, or who can whistle the longest, or who, I don't know, we're going to make up a bunch of things. Who's the greatest at doing whatever. You could do that in your family really easy. Do a few contests to see who's the greatest at whatever you come up with. We're going to do that here live, but then we're going to talk a little bit more about what makes something great. Why is something great? Is it because it's the strongest? Is it because it's the kindest? Is it because it's the richest, the most powerful? What makes something great? And we're going to read this story. We're going to look at this story. James and John learn about serving. James and John were brothers, and they go to Jesus and they say, Jesus, hey, we have something we want you to do for us. And Jesus says, okay, shoot, what do you got? What do you got? What do you want? And they said, Jesus, when you establish your kingdom, your glorious kingdom. Now they knew that Jesus had been talking about his kingdom. He didn't really call himself a king, but he'd been talking about his kingdom. And they knew that Jesus was going to be in charge in this kingdom. So they were asking Jesus, hey, Jesus, when you establish your awesome kingdom, we want to sit at your right hand and your left hand. That was kind of the most important places to sit next to the person who was in charge. And so this is what they were asking Jesus. We want to be great. We want to sit next to you, the left and the right hand. And Jesus says, well, hey guys, I don't think you really know what you're asking, but do you think you can go through the stuff that I'm going to go through in order to be a king, to be in charge, to be, to establish my kingdom? They're like, yeah, sure, we can do it. Jesus says, well, okay, you know what? You're going to walk through those same things that I have to walk through. And they didn't know what he was talking about at the time. But he did say, Jesus did say, but you know what? to decide who's going to sit at my right and my left hand, that's not for me. That's for my Father in heaven to decide who's going to do that. So I really can't tell you that I'm going to let you sit at my right and my left hand. And then he went on to teach them a little bit. The rest of the disciples, they weren't too happy with them asking Jesus about this, because they all said, hey, we're all disciples. We're all followers of Jesus. And what, who are you guys to be asking that question? Well, Jesus went on to say, you know what? The people on earth who are in power and who are in authority, they think they're great. They think they're the greatest. They think they have got it up over everyone else. But Jesus said this. He says, but instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must be the slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Look at that verse again. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must be the slave of all. For even the Son of Man, Jesus is talking about himself, even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. You can see that story in Mark chapter 10. You could read that together in your family. But you can see Jesus is kind of turning the tables here, and he says, you know what? Being great does not mean having power and authority, but being great means becoming a servant. And being first means to be the slave. So let's talk about this whole idea of serving. If serving is great, if Jesus says serving is the greatest thing we can do, and if you think about it, what were all the kinds of things that Jesus did to serve people? He fed people, he healed people, he loved people who other people didn't love, he talked to people who other people wouldn't talk to. He did things that showed that he was not better than anyone else. He didn't think himself to be better than anyone else. He loved people the way God would want us to love people too. So what does that look like for us? What does serving really look like? Well, let's talk about maybe three things. There's probably a lot of ways we could describe this, but here's three things that we can look at that tells us about serving. First of all, serving makes God look good. When we are really serving to love others and to be Jesus to others, we're pointing people to who God is and to what God is like in life. And so when we serve, it shouldn't be in a way to have other people look at us. I mean, people are going to look at us when we're serving, but if we come at it with an attitude that I want to do this so that people see who God is and that makes God look good, then we're really serving those people and we're really serving the Lord in that way. Secondly, serving is something we do well. Something we do well. So when you do what you do, when you're serving, whatever it is that you're doing, you want to do it great. You want to do it with excellence. You don't want to be done and have people say, yeah, that person kind of was lazy, or that person was really sloppy with it. They didn't do a great job. We want to do it well, whatever we do for Jesus. Whatever we do to serve others, we want to do it well. And then the third, we want to remember that serving is not about me. And that means that when we are thinking about ways we can serve others, we have to think about the other person. And not so much what we would want to do, but we want to think about what's going to be best for that person. That might not be the thing that we want. That might not be the thing that we think, hey, I'm the best at this, let's do that. We really have to think about the other person, the person that we're serving, and ask God, help me, God, to know it's not about me and what I want and what I think is best, but it's about you and what you know is best for this person or for that situation. So serving makes God look good. Serving is something we do well. And serving is something that's not about us, but it's about others. It's about what they need. So the big question this week is pretty easy. How can I serve someone this week? And we're going to have cards that look like this. You can take a look at that there on the screen. And you can see that this card says, be a disciple, make a plan, and serve someone this week. So think about your normal day. Think about the people that God puts in your way at school or in your neighborhood or your friends or your family. Ask God to help you think of at least one thing you can do, one way you can serve that person. And then there's places you see there to write it down and so you can remember what it is that God helped you to think about. Now, we have cards like this here that we're going to have. You could make one yourself. You could just write those things down. But it's really great to write down and to not forget. Hey, what did I think about? How can I serve somebody this week? So I hope that you will do that. I hope you'll take some time. Maybe talk about it with your family. Maybe there's someone in your neighborhood that you could all serve together. But it's a great question to ask yourself. How can I serve someone this week? So a disciple today, we've learned from Jesus and learned from this question of James and his brother John. A disciple is someone who serves. So we've been talking about disciples. Remember, a disciple is someone who lives for Jesus. With Matthew, a disciple knows that Jesus is worth following. We know that a disciple loves their family. So, and then today, a disciple is someone who serves. Let's do our names of the disciples song one more time. Here we go.
There were 12 disciples Jesus called to help him: Simon, Peter, Andrew, James his brother John, Philip, Thomas, Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon, Judas, and Bartholomew. There were 12 disciples Jesus called to help him: Simon, Peter, Andrew, James his brother John, Philip, Thomas, Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon, Judas, and Bartholomew. He's called us to, he's called us to, we are his disciples, I am one and you. Hey! He's called us to, he's called us to, we are his disciples, I am one and you. There were 12 disciples Jesus called to help him: Simon, Peter, Andrew, James his brother John, Philip, Thomas, Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon, Judas, and Bartholomew. He has called us to, he's called us to, we are his disciples, I am one and you. Hey! He has called us to, he's called us to, we are his disciples, I am one and you. There were 12 disciples Jesus called to help him: Simon, Peter, Andrew, James his brother John, Philip, Thomas, Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon, Judas, and Bartholomew, Bartholomew, Bartholomew.
All right, so hope you remember the names of the 12 disciples from that song. And remember our big question this week: how can I serve someone this week? So remember, Treat Street's coming up Friday, October 30th. It's going to be a great time. Think of a costume that your family or your crew's going to dress up as and join us. It's going to be a great time. And don't forget also, next Sunday, we start baptism class. Next Sunday, November 1, we're having class. Sunday, November 8, we're having class. Baptism Sunday is November 15. As always, if you have questions about any of these things or anything that we're doing on FAC Kids Go Live or here in the arena, please drop us an email. Please find us on social media. We would love to connect with you. We hope you all are doing great, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.